I invite you to connect with the voices of the Bible. This week we hear from Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10, the story of Zacchaeus. We're in week 2 of our Fresh Start series, exploring how unexpected turns become opportunities for transformation. Let's listen together. Now, to understand this story, we need to know what tax collectors meant in first century Palestine. Rome occupied Israel, and they outsourced tax collection to locals willing to do the unpopular work. Tax collectors bid for territories, paid Rome up front, then extracted whatever they could from their neighbors, keeping everything above the bid as profit. The system invited abuse. Zacchaeus wasn't just a tax collector. Luke tells us he was a chief tax collector, essentially a regional manager of exploitation. He supervised other collectors, taking a cut of their profits. The text says plainly, he was rich. In that context, wealth meant complicity. Every denarius in Zacchaeus' purse represented a neighbor squeezed, a family struggling, a community resenting. Jericho was a prosperous city, a major trading center, which made it a lucrative tax district. Zacchaeus had positioned himself well, but something was missing. Why else would a wealthy, powerful man climb a tree just to catch a glimpse of an itinerant preacher? Notice the details that Luke gives us. Zacchaeus was trying to see who Jesus was. Not just to see Jesus, but to see who Jesus was. There's seeking here, curiosity that goes beyond spectacle. He wanted to understand something, but he couldn't see because of the crowd. And Luke adds almost tenderly, because he was short. So this dignified tax official does something undignified. He runs ahead. He climbs a sycamore tree. Picture it, fine robes hiked up, sandals scrabbling for purchase, a grown man perched in branches like a child. Desperation makes us do things that sacrifice our dignity. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Jesus stops. Jesus looks up. Jesus calls him by name. Zacchaeus, come down at once. I must stay at your house today. Now the Greek word that's translated must implies divine necessity. This isn't polite suggestion. Jesus says, in effect, God's purpose requires me to be your guest today. The initiative comes entirely from Jesus. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to see. Jesus looked up to invite. The crowd grumbles. He's gone to be the guest of a sinner. They're not wrong about Zacchaeus' past, but they can't imagine a future different from that past. Jesus can. Then Zacchaeus responds, and here's where transformation becomes visible. Look, Lord, I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I've cheated anyone, I repay them 4 times as much. Now, some scholars debate whether Zacchaeus is defending his current practice or announcing a new commitment. The grammar could support either reading, but the context suggests transformation. Jesus declares that today, salvation has come to this household. Something changed in that encounter. The man who accumulated wealth through exploitation now releases it through generosity. This story speaks to anyone who's ever watched from a distance, wondering if they'd be welcome if they came closer. Anyone who has built walls of wealth or achievement or reputation only to discover those walls became a prison. Anyone who's heard an unexpected invitation and felt their grip loosen on whatever they've been holding so tightly. Notice that Jesus doesn't wait for Zacchaeus to prove he's changed. The invitation comes first. Transformation follows encounter. We don't clean ourselves up to meet Jesus. We meet Jesus and then find ourselves being cleaned. Grace precedes response. And notice what salvation looks like here. It's not just a feeling or spiritual status. Salvation changes Zacchaeus' relationship with money, with his neighbors, with his past. Real encounter with Jesus transforms how we hold what we have. Now, on this Sunday, when we celebrate our church's 152nd birthday, we remember generations of people whose generosity built what we now inherit. They encountered Jesus and let that encounter transform how they held their resources. We're still benefiting from their response. Zacchaeus climbed a tree out of curiosity and came down transformed. Jesus' unexpected invitation changed everything, not just Zacchaeus' eternal destiny, but his earthly relationships, his financial practices, his very identity. The same Jesus still looks up, still calls names, still invites himself into homes and hearts and bank accounts. The question for us is the same question Zacchaeus faced. Will we come down from wherever we've been hiding and welcome the one who sees us, knows us, and chooses to enter our lives anyway? This week, listen for your name. Find the courage to come down and let the unexpected invitation of Jesus change everything about how you see what you have. Grace and peace to you.